What was that? Never mind that. What was that?
Hi!
Who are you?
BARFF!
Not in here, mister. This is a Mercedes.
Nah, that's my name. BARFF!
BARFF? What are you?
And here we go. BARFF Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Brian the Commish, joined with my co-host, Walt Mikulski. How you doing tonight, Walt?
Good, Brian.
And tonight, live in studio, we've got the owner of Worst Team Ever, Tyler Mikulski. Tyler, it's great to have you here tonight.
Great to be here.
All right. Seems to be a weekly thing. Tyler, you are our number one team. We're going to get into standings later. You have held on to that number one spot for quite a long time. And we're honored to have you in the studio right now. You've had some years where it's looked like you were going to run the table. You've had some years where you basically did run the table. How do you feel sitting here in first place this deep into the BARFF season?
You know, it does feel pretty good. I'm pretty happy with what my team has put up so far. A couple points throughout the season where it's been a little disappointing. Especially last week with Hilaire only putting up 6 points and had about, I think, 5 carries all game. So we'll see how that carries, going deep into the season. But not much I can really do about that. Just got to dig deep, make the right decisions, and see where it takes me.
Yeah. Let's get into this last week of games. Walt, the first game that we're going to talk about is yours. Soaring Eagles, the formerly Soaring Eagles, but we'll still talk about them like that. They rise up, taking you out 126-102. Tell me about your game last week.
So I think going into it, I was concerned last week. I kind of said that, and then Kittle gets hurt in the second quarter, and Justin Jefferson did nothing. So I'm like, okay, this is not good. I'm thinking in my mind, though, because Kenny Golladay went out for the Eagles. I'm like, okay, that kind of evened out Kittle. If I can get like 25, 30 out of Zeke, and I'm thinking with a rookie quarterback, they're going to run him a lot.
Sure.
Man, was I wrong about that.
Yeah.
It was a disaster. Zeke was pretty much didn't even look like he was part of the game plan. They were doing gadget plays. So after that, I'm like, yeah, I'm done. And then, of course, DK. They flip-flop between him and Lockett. Last week, Lockett. This one, DK. Yeah. And then, of course, that leads to a name change. Maybe a first child named after DK Metcalf by the Soaring Eagles, a.k.a. DK Metcalf.
Name change magic for the first time this year. DK Metcalf's 41 points overcomes that strange day by Kenny Golladay. I talked about Devontae Freeman last week saying he did play in the game, and it was a 0 that he put up. And we have the same thing with Kenny Golladay. He played in the game. He didn't get anything done, and then he goes out injured. Tom Brady puts up 21 points. This is a good week for Soaring Eagles.
Sure was.
Tyler, what did you see in this game? These are two teams, both now sitting at 4-4. One of them was 1-1. One of them's down 1. How did you see this week?
I do like to see, Team DK Metcalf now put up those types of points. I mean, I think his Achilles heel is Golladay here now. I mean, he's had him, healthy for maybe 4 games now this season. That's his, number 1 drafted wide receiver as well. So, you hate to see that get shut down. It really does put you at a disadvantage. But it looks like he did hit lucky, with DK Metcalf here, putting up that type of point total. So that really saved him here in the end. Soaring Eagles, when they put up points, they do it well. They just hope they can keep that momentum going here. Yeah,
I agree. Hopefully good things ahead. The second game that we'll talk about, Huey Lewis in the news battles it out with Sody Pantloads. We said last week, Walt, that this was the week that you wanted to play the Pantloads, and Huey Lewis took advantage. 132-105. Tell me your thoughts on this game.
So it was nice to see my lock was finally right for a change. So that was good. But I did get a lot of help from that. Because they lost, they had a big impact on bye week, and then he had Ridley and Darrell Henderson both get hurt in the second quarter of their games. Yeah. So if those guys don't go out, my lock maybe wouldn't have come off. But with that, with both those guys getting hurt, I mean, it was really pretty much uphill battle for the Pantloads, and then of course the News had solid performances from Kamara, Kelsey, and the newly acquired Justin Herbert. So it wasn't going to be the Pantloads day.
Yeah. Tyler, I talked to you about weeks ago about Huey Lewis coming, and you said, yeah, you didn't want to see them. Here they sit at 5-3. They're right up in the mix at the top, sitting in second place. They've, because of me, got Travis Kelce going big. A lot of weeks he puts up 25 points this week for them. What do you see with Huey Lewis as the weeks start to move towards playoff time?
Yeah, you might have a couple owners coming back to you, blaming you for some losses here with that Kelce trade. But yeah, I mean, as I said when I was first on, a couple of weeks ago, Huey Lewis, it's a good team. You certainly don't want to see them coming your way, especially when they're fully loaded here with Kamara, and Kelce, and especially now with Hubert too. Having that option between him and Josh Allen, I mean, that's a pretty good tandem you can go with depending on the matchup that week.
Yeah, it's crazy that he had Josh Allen when Josh Allen was hot, and then he decides to pick up Justin Herbert, probably to see bye weeks coming ahead, and now Justin Herbert is pretty much the starter for Huey Lewis in the news, as well he should be.
Yeah, he looks a lot more consistent than Josh Allen, and just to let you know, Kyle did put it out there. He wants to reopen the trade of Kelce and take a vote on that. He was not feeling too happy with you.
I almost responded to that by saying, well, that was a value trade. He got Kelce, and then I got, I got Chris Carson sitting on the fucking bench is what I got. So it can work out down the road.
We might have to start implementing a physical when we do these fantasy football trades here.
Yeah, I feel as though Huey Lewis might have known something, but we'll see. Again, both of those teams now 5-3, sitting in second and third, with the best tied for the best record in the league. Third game we'll look at the Springfield Rifle, in an interesting game. Two teams that have struggled to score points, the Rifle and the Boston Beans. The Springfield Rifle take the win, a much-needed win this week, 107-95 over the Beans. Moves the Rifle into 3-5 and drops the Beans to 4-4. Not a high-scoring game, but wow. Tyler, this is one, when you're talking about maneuvering for playoffs, this game could be one that we look back on and say, yeah, that was what started the Rifle able to get in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looked like he was going to make some questionable decisions there, too, benching Allen Robinson, who ended up playing after clearing concussion protocol and putting up 20 points. And Robbie Anderson only putting up 9 on that Thursday night. I mean, you see why he did it. Because you can't take that chance running into Sunday and not having Robbie Anderson, who played Thursday.
That could have cost him.
So it does make sense why he did it. I mean, in the end, he squeaked it out, and I guess that's all that really matters.
Yep. Well, this is a low-scoring game, but again, these are teams that the Boston Beans, 4 wins, which puts them in the middle of the pack. They get 9 from Fournette, and they're doomed with a -4 from the Titans D. Didn't cost them the game, but it doesn't help. What do you think, looking at Boston Beans? We were talking last week, had they turned the corner? And we thought maybe, and now they put up 95 points in a loss. What are your thoughts?
I think they started off really well, and they got a fast start. Julio getting 21 on Thursday night, so I'm thinking, okay, that really looks really good for them. And then jams in Gio Bernard for the hurt Joe Mixon, so another good move there by Tony. Connor, James Conner now looks pretty solid, consistent. Yeah. So everything was looking up, and then the rest of the lineup just kind of took the week off. Yeah. I don't know if they thought they were on COVID protocol and they didn't have to play the game or something like that. But Tony got nothing pretty much from the rest. And, I will say at Mikulski HQ, we were hoping Tony would lose by 3 points to make the -4 really hurt. But it didn't happen that way. But like you said, you get minus from a defense on any given week. It's really tough to overcome that.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you both this question. Tyler, I'll start with you. I'm a purist. I say we have 9 spots, and you need to fill 9 spots and able to play the game. There are people that from time to time will sit or pull a defense. What are your thoughts on that strategy?
It goes both ways. I have done that before and dropped the defense or a kicker or not subbed one in because of a bye week. And honestly, I really don't mind it because it's part of the strategy. You're going into a matchup and you're going to be shorthanded a player, and that could come back and cost you in the end.
Sure.
So it really comes down to the manager. If they make the decision, I say, hey, let it go.
All right. Walt, what do you think?
I hate it. I think it hurts the integrity of the game, honestly. Yep. I'm willing to, if someone overlooks and forgot they had a bye and, make an honest mistake and didn't fill it.
Right.
But to intentionally do it, to me, you're supposed to have that in. You have to have that risk of losing points by taking them out. To me, It just kind of hurts, like I said, kind of the integrity of the game.
Yeah, you start a player like Daniel Jones at Q, you could have negative points, but you got to start a quarterback, so I see it the same way.
Yeah, because you would never take out a QB, right?
Right.
So
right.
I agree with you, Brian.
Yeah. Fourth game, we're going to look at what I'm calling the shootout of the week. No lineup needed takes out worst team ever. Sorry about this, Tyler.
It's all right.
132-24. Great game. No lineup needed moves to 4-4, while worst team ever drops to 5-3 and still stays in first place. There are some interesting choices made on the no lineup needed side. Walt, I'm gonna ask you your thoughts on what decided this game. It was a squeaker.
Yeah, well, I'll give you credit. First of all, you thought this was potential upset special of the week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So
Yep.
you were right on it, and I think it really came down. I was saying, the Jets against KC, Hilaire, great matchup. You get 6 points. I mean, forget about it. And then Tyler Lockett, you're hoping he'll make up the difference.
Yeah.
7 points.
7
Metcalf
points.
gets it all. So to me, it just came down to that. Those two guys pretty much did in. And I mean, the losing, amount was those. If they had good games, they would overcome that. And worst team ever gets to win that.
Yeah. Tyler, I'll ask you your feelings on a game that you lose by 8 points and the defense for your opponent scores 20.
Yeah, that's a
bad
killer
feeling, isn't
too.
it?
That's a bad one, and I might have to start bribing the commissioner over here. Now, that's both of my losses. He predicted an upset special against the Boston Beans, and now no lineup needed. So we'll talk about that later. But yeah,
I understand.
It made it worse too. The Eagles D getting that touchdown. That I'm still beside
Controversial.
myself on how that even counted. And it was against the Cowboys too, on top of it. So just any way you could have punched me right in the gut to make this game
That was
sting
more
a little
like
bit more.
the balls, I think.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was. Said, yeah, hey, there's nothing else I could have done. I started the guys I needed to, and in the end, no lineup needed. Just got what they had to get out of their guys and pulled through.
Yeah. I want to talk a little more about that game as we get into manager critique, but let's move on to the fifth game of the week. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. Knuckleheads beat Hung Like a Horse, putting up the week's high score for 143, but Hung Like a Horse puts up 60 points, and you can't say a whole lot about it. Walt, I'll say Dalvin Cook scored 50 points, so that's fun. But on the other side of the ball, Hung Like a Horse got absolutely betrayed.
Mm-hmm.
And, their starting lineup put up 60 points for him. And I'll tell you this. I'll tell you both. I was happy that the number that he put up this week didn't start with a 5. When he hit 60, to me, 60 points is so much better than 59. I can't describe it. So, Walt, I'll start with you. Your take on Knuckleheads beating Hung Like a Horse.
So you don't have a lot to say. I have a ton to say. Is that when one guy, pretty much Dalvin Cook, almost beat your whole team?
Yeah.
That is really not good. I agree with you. 50, 60, it does seem a little better. But
Yeah.
I mean, this was like the biggest beatdown, I think, of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
Because you had the week high
Yeah.
versus the week low. I mean,
Season low.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
differential was like, forget about it. And I felt bad for Hung Like a Horse, Michael Thomas again not showing up, Godwin. So he was kind of going in there without, a good chunk of the team being able to play. But regardless, that poor Tommy, that was really, really a bad beating.
Yeah, he's snake bit. Tyler, anything to add on this? I'll say last week I set the season's low score with 80, and Tommy crushes it this week. What are your feelings?
So, the good news is if you play a team that played me the week before, chances are they're going to put up a low score after absolutely going off against me. So
I know that
you're
feeling.
welcome for
I
that
know
one.
that feeling.
Yes,
Yeah,
I know
thank
you
you.
do.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
I got to give you a lot of props too. I wish the game was a little bit closer to make your pickup of DJ Dallas seem that much more brilliant. Because,
Yeah.
it was 22 points out of a waiver wire guy.
I was
You always
happy.
got to be happy with that.
I was happy with that. I was happy it worked out. But again, at that point, I had stopped looking because it was like watching someone get beaten and whipped, and yeah, I just didn't like it. It was a little gruesome for me. So, yeah, he's gonna move on. He falls to 3-5. I'm lucky to move up to 3-5, but that's 3 losses in a row. This Hung Like a Horse team at one point sat at 3-2, and they're still at 3. And we're talking all the time. We've been talking since week 1 about the playoffs. But wow, the missed opportunity of a 3-game losing streak. I'm sorry, that could really come back to haunt them in the end. There's no doubt.
Yeah, maybe Watson's right about Hung Like a Horse. Remember, he said last week
did.
had him ranked 10th.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll
maybe.
look at Watson later. Yeah, Watson may know stuff that we don't.
Unlike the projections.
Well, those are a little screwy, but yeah. So, Walt, I'll start with you. Overall this week, manager critique. Who had the best game this week?
This was a tough one because even though the News were my lock of the week, again, with Kyle having 2 injuries in the second quarter, I can't give it to the News, even though they backed me up and got me to 3-2 on my lock of the week, which is not that impressive. I guess I gotta kind of look at the upset special and give Christian the nod for that, because he did have the Philly D get 20, and that we always kind of think is a little lucky. But overall, he put the right guys in. Davante Adams, good lineup, matchup, got the points, the production. So I'm going to give it to Christian.
All right. Tyler, what do you think? Best game of the week? Or best management performance of the week, sorry.
Yeah, and I got to give it up to the commissioner. Said even though it was a blowout, he did make a lot of nice choices here that would have helped him out if it was even a little bit more of a closer game here. Mentioned DJ Dallas, and then the cojones to start Slayton as well. I'm not sure when he makes it in your lineup, but hey, he puts up 10 points. You got to be happy with that.
I was pretty happy to see 10 points out of any New York Giant in that game. That was boy,
but he only had to start one guy, so that's why I couldn't give it to him, because he picked 2 guys and he already won the game. So
can't hold that against him.
I know, and maybe that's unfair, but yeah.
I'll tell you, I'm a little bit impressed with Huey Lewis and the News again, going with their strategy with Justin Herbert. Like he's still, I'm still gonna call him an unknown commodity. He's a rookie playing for a team that's up and down, and you have Josh Allen who's playing on the team that's dethroning the Patriots, and yet he sticks with them so far at the right times. And so, that impresses me. I'm going to give it to Huey Lewis and the News.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Tyler, let's go to the other side of managerial life and talk about who had the worst performance of the week.
I want to say your opponent. It's not like he had many choices there on his roster to fill in with all those injuries. So I feel like it would be a little unfair. So I also look over to Sody Pantloads here. With that running back situation that he had to kind of juggle here, last second. At Mikulski HU, he was looking at the waiver wire Friday night and Saturday, trying to decide who he was going to pick up and who he was going to start. Naeem Hines came up in the conversation. Oh, boy. And if he would have done that, it might have been a different story here.
Yeah. But, Walt, did you talk him out of it?
I actually was trying to talk him into it, which is interesting. I'm the one who brought him up, which for once in my life I was right about Naeem Hines to actually do something.
That's crazy. Well, who do you think had the worst managerial performance of the week?
I agree. Tommy, what could he have done? It's just one of those weeks, so I can't give him, say worst management of the week. It's just one of those things.
Right.
Whereas I agree with the Pantloads. They put themselves in that position to have all those guys on the bye. 2, like you said, he was talking about Wayne Gallman, starting him, and then he's looking through all these scenarios, and he was indecisive. So I'm giving it to Kyle and the Pantloads.
All right, Kyle takes a right on the chin. I'm going to do something unconventional. I'm going to go and look at a team in this part of the discussion that had a great week and won. I'm going to look at no lineup needed who got props, but I'm going to look at it from the other end. We talk about teams not getting cute. I'll bring up the Springfield Rifle. Lamar Jackson's not doing a whole lot for them, but you know what? When you have Lamar Jackson, you start Lamar Jackson. He picks up Travis Fulgham, who's doing well for him, could be trying all kinds of different things, but he's staying home. He picks up a much-needed win. This is what I'm talking about when I bring up the Rifle. Don't get cute. No lineup needed. Won the game, 2nd win in a row, and they're doing well. But boy, don't start getting cute. You have Ben Roethlisberger and Drew Brees, and you're putting Carson goddamn Wentz in the game, and he puts 9 points up on the board. This is a squeaker against our number 1 team. Tyler, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That Eagles D doesn't swoop in and bail them out. They lose this game, and then they're at 3 wins at a bad time. So I'm going to say, I'm looking at you, no lineup needed. Don't get cute. All right. That was that was certainly best and worst, and the week overview. And now we have the whistle, and we know that the whistle means it's time for 3 and Out with Walt.
You're so mad. Oh, throw the flag! He's all over him!
3 and Out with Walt means that my co-host Walt Mikulski, Tyler, you know how this works. He gets to ask you any 3 questions that he wants. You were on the hot seat before, and you are in the hot seat again.
Bring it on.
All right, Ty. So this is a little bit of a twist here, and we're not going to be talking about any phallic symbols or anything like that. But
good.
This is a chance where you're in studio, give you an opportunity to call maybe some other owners out. So I'm gonna kind of let you open up a can of whoop ass on a couple of people here. First one, and I think we've already talked a lot about him, Hung Like a Horse. Seemed to be a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde, but yet they're trending downward. Even Watson saying they're going to be the 10th, finish 10th. So based on the last few weeks' performance, do you think that's really indicative of what that team's going to really be going forward? Or do you think he's just hit a rough patch and then he's going to turn it around?
No, Hung Like a Horse has got a leak in the boat, and they're not even trying to plug the hole here. They're going down, and there's no saving them. You got to look at all of his injuries. He's got Godwin, Michael Thomas, who hasn't played all but 3 quarters of the season, and I haven't seen him, try to make a move or anything like that trade-wise. He loses Austin Eckler, his number 1 running back, and again, still not trying to make a move. He's just trying to survive, and it's not paying out. At some point, you got to realize, okay, I got to do something if I want to, salvage this season, and I don't see that coming from Tommy.
Do you think that's because he works in enterprise and he's just learning how to survive, and that has transferred over into his fantasy management?
That could have something to do with it. Right. Could be playing mental games with him. He comes home, tired, so I don't know if he's not doing what he needs to be doing on the fantasy football side of things.
Shell shock. So we got quite a few 4-4 teams for them. Looking at them, I guess if you looked at probability of all 4 making it, I'm going to say that's pretty low. So which one of those do you think is not going to make the playoffs?
I would have to lean more towards the Beans, just due to the fact the inconsistency with his team, as well as the injuries with Julio Jones. We know his team is based around DeAndre Hopkins and Julio, and if one of those guys underperforms, they're not going to have a good week, and they're going to put up one of those low point totals we've seen them do here in the past. So I think the Boston Beans are going to try making a push, but in the end, I think they're going to fall short.
Yep. All right. So this one comes up a lot, and I'll make it potentially plural, but we always have this argument at our house: who's the luckiest owner/owners in the league that you say, oh, it doesn't matter. They get the Midas touch no matter what they do. They're just getting lucky. So who are those?
Well, there's a couple teams with that one.
All right.
The first one is effing no lineup needed with 20 points out of their defense on a phantom call at the end of the game, which I'm not going to get into that again. It's just going to, make me angry. But the other one's going to be Boston Beans. I mean, you look at him, somehow he salvaged a 4-4 record. He's got the lowest points against in the league, and he's right there at the bottom with the lowest points for, and somehow is, again, 4-4. Yeah. So you got to wonder, is that really, the management, or is that a little bit of luck on their side? And the other one is, Sody Pantloads. He loses Kenyon Drake, yeah, sure, but you know what? Kenyon Drake wasn't performing as a top 2 overall pick. He lost Saquon Barkley, yeah, sure, but somehow he still salvaged together 5 wins and got atop of the standings. Again, you're looking at his points for, which, respectable at 1039, and his points against too, it's the lowest out of the top 4 teams in the league.
And what about that James Robinson pickup? I mean, what do you think of that? Was that more of a luck, or do you think that was an educated guess?
That was all luck. There's no educated guess with that kid.
You don't think he was working the charts and the probabilities and figuring out that James Robinson?
He can say anything he wants, but he was not. No. He does. He closes his eyes, picks a name on that phone and starts and says, "Oh yeah, I did that on purpose."
I should try that. That might work.
Yeah.
Unless your name's Sody Pantloads, it won't.
Yeah, well, I'm not doing that. Yeah.
All right, man. Good job.
Very good, Tyler. You have for the first time in a double survival of 3-0 with Walt. Nice job. Well done. Well done. All right, let's move into a preview of what we've got coming up. There are some games that are really going to start to move people up and down. We'll talk about Knuckleheads versus No Lineup. If No Lineup loses this one, they're going to end up falling behind Knuckleheads in the standings due to points 4. Both teams will be at 4, and that's a pretty big drop for No Lineup. No Lineup has an opportunity to really either jump or fall, but if they fall, it's going to be pretty low. Walt, what do you think about this matchup with Knuckleheads and No Lineup needed?
Knuckleheads got Dalvin Cook back. Dalvin Cook has an outstanding matchup this week again. In fact, I just heard this coming here. The Lions have given up the most fantasy touchdowns to running backs this year. Dalvin Cook comes off a 4-touchdown week. I love, your chances with Dalvin Cook in that lineup. And then the same show I was watching said, what's the best second running back matchup? Hey, it was David Johnson.
David Johnson, yeah, he's got a big projection
He
this
sure
week.
does.
Yeah.
Now, flip the coin. I look at no lineup needed, McLaurin against the Giants, and then Juju against the Cowboys. Anybody against the Cowboys,
right?
That's a receiver. There's a big chance. So normally I lean towards, in a PPR league, the receivers with the better matchups. But in this case, it's a no. I think Dalvin Cook and David Johnson's matchups are just too juicy, so I give the Knuckleheads the edge.
All right, Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think this very well could be our shootout of the week here. Just because, Christian's team, it is loaded, and against, this week, having the Steelers, having Ben Roethlisberger and Juju against the Cowboys is huge. And as long as he takes your advice and doesn't get cute with his roster here,
right.
I think he's going to be all right. But on the other side of the fence, you as well, as you mentioned, those running back matchups, which are fantastic. And looks like you might potentially get Chris Carson back this week. Now, if you lose him this week, I think it's a little bit of a different story because the drop-off, talent-wise, is pretty sharp after that.
Yeah.
But as long as everything stays, the rosters stay the same, I think this is going to be a pretty good game for us.
I'd like to see Chris Carson play. I'd like to see him just play in general since he's been on my team. That would be nice. I agree, echoing my comments from earlier, if I don't see Roethlisberger, Juju, and Devontae Adams in this lineup this week for no lineup needed, I don't know. There may need to be phone calls made. Not sure. Next game we'll talk about newly named, going with the name change magic, Team DK Metcalf takes on Huey Lewis in the News. Team DK could move into second place with a victory. Tyler, what do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, this is a big matchup here, for a couple of reasons. You got Huey Lewis, who's at the top of the standings currently, and you have Team DK Metcalf that looks like they could be getting healthy at the right time. From what it looks like right now, they're going to have Christian McCaffrey back, which is a huge gain for them, and DK Metcalf, as well. Hopefully he puts up that, 40-point high point total again this week.
Yeah.
But I think DK Metcalf, the team-wise, is going to be in pretty good shape. They do lose Kenny Galladay, and it doesn't look like they're getting him back for a couple weeks. What does hurt them, but I think that bounce back of McCaffrey is going to really help them out.
Yeah, Walt, what do you think about this game this week?
So, first of all, this game's kind of a serious impact on the standings. The News gets to win. They're right there. Maybe they stay in the top spot. DK Metcalf beats them. Guess what? Brings them even closer back to the pack. So, all of a sudden now, we're really, really tight, if that was even possible.
Right.
DK gets McCaffrey back, but we've said before, Mike Davis has been doing so well. Is that really that huge of an upgrade? Maybe, maybe not. But you lose the Gio Bernard Mixon to a bye, Tyler Boyd, Galladay not there as well. The News have some really good matchups. No bye impact really other than the D. So really tough week. I had to pick a game that was my lock of the week. I'm going with it. Lock. And I'm saying second week in a row, the News.
Huey Lewis in the News gets the lock of the week. All right. We'll see how that works out for him. Next game I want to talk about. Walt, you had a little bit of a struggling week hitting 102 points this week. You're going in to play the Beans. The Beans will do that to every team. They get them down in those low scores. They only put up 95 this week. What do you think about your matchup going into to Week 9 NFL season?
Yeah, I'm going into the swamp, which of course always concerns me. So I'm looking at the projections, and it looks like a tight, low-scoring affair. But ESPN projections, I think it's the equivalent of the pollsters in the presidential election. There is no accuracy with those whatsoever because it said D-Hop was going to get 18 against a Miami D. I'm not saying that's not possible,
right?
But I'm like, really? That does not seem, in my mind, that's like less than 50% chance in my mind that that's going to happen. So that's one projection I looked at. I'm like, wow, okay, I don't buy that one. Fournette, 13.5 against the Saints. Are they projecting that Ronald Jones Jr. is going to fumble again and not be in half of the game?
Right.
Now, flip the coin. They got 16 for Zeke, and I don't know what the hell that was based on after last week.
So I figure he's got to do it at some point.
Yeah,
he's got to rise up. Yeah.
So it is to me back and forth, and I summed it up this way. I said if James Conner gets 20 or more against the Cowboys, then I think the Beans pull it out. Less than that, I think Born to Run will rise up and get out of the swamp and win this game.
All right. What do you think about this game, Tyler?
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting what Born to Run does at the tight end position. Losing Kittle here. But one I do have to agree with the projections there. As I've mentioned before, they seem out of whack. I don't know what they're doing over there at ESPN headquarters.
Yeah.
But I think the one player that Born to Run has to watch out for is James Conner. We've seen what opposing running backs have done to that Dallas defense here.
Yeah.
So if Conner has a big week and Julio Jones and Hopkins put up their normal, I think the Beans could pull this one out.
Yeah, they would. I definitely see that as well. James Conner has been coming on, and wow, what a matchup he has this week. He could run wild, so that'll be interesting to watch. Walt, I'll let you know Jordan Reed's available.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I'm not saying, I got a transaction in on anybody, but
it worked before. Why not go back to the well?
I don't mind going back to the well. So we'll see.
Next game we'll talk about, Tyler. This is your game. Worst team ever takes on Sody Pantloads. Two teams that are right now both have 5-3 records. At the end of this week, whether it's Huey Lewis taking out Team DK Metcalf or one of these teams is going to win, there will be a six game winner in this league. Walt, what do you think? I'm going to go to you first. Worst team ever is taking on Sody Pantloads. Both at the top of the standings currently. Worst team ever sitting in the first spot. Sody's in the third, but they're both 5-3. One of them's going to have 6 wins. Who's moving ahead this week?
So you thought Trump was a sore loser potentially in the election? I can't wait to see which one of these guys loses their shit when they're losing. So, I mean, no love lost here on these two, and I think it's going to be a high-scoring slugfest. Both of them excellent matchups, and we'll go back to the same guy that determined the outcome of last week's loss, which is Hilaire, and he's another guy. I am concerned Le'Veon Bell has had a detrimental impact to Hilaire's productivity, and here's the number 10. Hilaire gets 10 or more. Worst team ever to me gets to win. Less than that, then the Pantloads get the edge.
You putting that much emphasis on Edwards-Hilaire in your lineup, Tyler?
Yeah, you know what? I am this week because of the Aaron Jones situation now in Green Bay. In the backup, Jamal Williams has been a fantastic, plug for me here while Aaron Jones has been out. But now he has to sit next to someone on the freaking bench who has COVID. So, and if you look at their other running backs, they're activating guys off the practice squad and trying to train for them and having a clear protocol in time for the game. And it's just a mess. So if I don't get production out of Hilaire this week, I don't see how I can come ahead. I might have a couple transactions looking at some running backs here going into tomorrow in the waiver wire pickup. But I am going to need that RB1 production or high RB2 production that I drafted Hilaire at during the draft to pull through here. Yeah. And I do think the winner of this game is going to be potentially our regular season champ as well.
All right.
I think that takes away the loser. I don't think they have a shot.
It's getting to be time. It's getting to be time to make predictions like that. The season's starting to dry up. So, bold predictions and we'll see how it works out. Last game we'll talk about, Hung Like a Horse versus the Springfield Rifle. We just talked about implications about who could possibly get to and hold on to the top spot. Hung Like a Horse and the Springfield Rifle are both sitting with 3 wins right now. At the end of this game, someone's still going to have 3 wins. If it's Tommy, that'll be the 4th straight week that he'll be sitting at 3 wins. This is, to me, a must-win game for both of these teams. Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, that's what this game is. A little bit of a yawn fest. Yeah. Oh, no. So I hate to do this to both these guys, but you look at the Springfield Rifles team right now. Myles Gaskin's not playing. He got hurt. He's got an empty flex position right now. So who the hell is he going to start? Friggin' T.Y. Hilton, who's I don't even know why he's sitting on a roster anymore at this point. Unfortunately, Tom's got him at a good week here, missing a lot of guys on bye weeks for Cincinnati. And Tom, it looks like he might have some of the pieces coming back together. Michael Thomas, it looks like he's going to play, but we'll know.
Michael Thomas
Sunday
has
morning.
to play at some point,
you would
doesn't
think
he?
So.
Oh.
You would think so.
Yeah.
So I think this might be the week that Tom puts up the points total he needs to come through.
All right, Walt, do you agree or disagree?
Well, I think, I'm a little worried about Tommy because I see Antonio Brown in the lineup, and I can't think of more of a desperation move. It just reeks of total desperation. But to Tyler's point, we get Michael Thomas back on the field. Even Chris Godwin actually participated in practice limited. So plug those 2 in, then Antonio Brown is really okay. You can maybe take a flyer on him, and it's not really as critical with that. And then, like Tyler said, I think, losing Gaskin, that's a tough blow. And then Lamar Jackson, who we're all been saying is underperforming, goes up against another really tough D. So I'm going with hung like a horse as well.
Yeah, it is. We've talked about. I've written my team off for 2 weeks now, but if you don't win this week between these two teams, I think that your mathematical chances start to get astronomically low. So that's rough. We'll root for both of them, but only one of them can win. One of them will be at 4 wins, and the other one will be stuck at 3, and that is rough. And there's the bell, and what the bell means is that it's time for a new segment. We have a brand new segment. We haven't used this before. Tyler, you are the guinea pig.
All right.
It's time for what we call here the Blitz. The rules of the Blitz are as follows. You're going to get 40 seconds. That's the same amount of time as an NFL play clock. You've got to answer these questions. There's 10 of them. You can't move past the question until you get it right. These questions aren't hard, but much like a Blitz, we need to see how you perform under pressure. So 60 seconds is not a lot of time. We're going to clock it out here. We've got the old phone countdown. I'm going to start it and stop it. Maybe people can see it. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's see how you perform under pressure, my friend. And the player on your roster with the most overall points is?
Aaron Jones.
Your no.
Patrick Mahomes.
All right. Your best ever BARFF regular season record was what?
10-1.
No.
11-1.
Very good. Who was the lead guitarist for Led Zeppelin?
Jimmy Plant.
No.
Plant.
Oh my God! I can't believe I just said that. I gotta admit defeat just right on that.
No, keep going.
Keep
You're
going.
under pressure.
Jimmy Page.
Very good. John Smith plays for what NFL team?
Tennessee Titans.
The BARFF team currently in second place is?
Sody Pantloads.
No.
He will lose in the news.
Very good. The capital of New Hampshire is?
Oh, come on.
Capital of New Hampshire. Claremont.
No. You live in New Hampshire.
Hanover. I know. I'm drawing a blank. Oh no, I'm cracking. This is not good. This is not a good sign.
Oh,
This is question 6.
Question.
Capital of New Hampshire.
Capital of New Hampshire. Let's think this one through. Oh, where parts are? Nashua.
No.
I'm just gonna start listing off names.
And
here.
he's sacked.
And he sat.
Wow.
Sometimes you got to admit defeat.
Performance anxiety
It was.
just set in.
The capital of New Hampshire is Concord.
Concord. That's the one.
Yep.
Let's hear the rest.
You would have had to answer, who is this week's starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys?
And there is no answer to that one because they just decided today it's
Yeah,
either
they
going to be
did.
Cooper
That would've
Rush
been tough.
or a guy that activated off their practice squad.
I will indicate to both of you that we have here will accept Garrett Gilbert, Cooper Rush, no one knows, or no one cares. The 8th question, Denver's Tim Patrick plays what position?
That's wide receiver.
Very good. You only know that because he's on your roster.
That's
no
right.
one else in the NFL or BARFF knows that. 6 times 3 is?
6 times 3, 24.
No.
Are you kidding me?
18.
Very good. And the blank college casts the votes that decide the presidency of the U.S.
Sorry, say that again.
The blank college.
Electoral college.
Very good. Those were your questions.
I thought you couldn't just read. No, you can't do them.
No, that's a known. It's not quick. The Mad Minute was never my strong suit.
So what we're going to do is we're going to put a chart up for the Blitz. And right now you are going to be credited with 5 questions under pressure.
Just put it on the bottom.
And, well, you're going to be at the top for at least a week. And, yep, that was the Blitz. That was a little bit of fun. We're going to have to do some different stuff with that.
No, it wasn't.
And now it's time to look at our standings. As things sit right now, we got 3 teams at 5-3 with worst team ever, Huey Lewis in the news, Sody Pantloads. Then you've got the Swamp. You've got Team DK Metcalf with points 4 at the top of that, followed by Born to Run, no lineup needed, and Boston Beans. The bottom part, the desperation tier, is Knuckleheads, Hung Like a Horse, and Springfield Rifle. I'll give myself little props. Knuckleheads has some points for advantages moving forward. And we have some teams that are going to definitely make some moves this week, whether they want to or not, either good or bad, based on the matchups that we have this week. The matchups are perfect. Looking at IBM Watson, hung like a horse. Wow, they came out of the draft picked to be the first team, and they've dropped to 9th in ranking. The Knuckleheads were picked second. They're down to the 5 spot, which I'd be so happy to be in the 5 spot right now. Wow, that would be great. Team Born to Run was starting out as 3. Curiously, they're projected down to 7.
Ouch.
Well, we've talked about Watson before, but Watson seems to know stuff, so be careful.
I hate to use this language, Watson. Go fuck himself. I'm sorry. That's what I think of Watson right now.
Watson might not know that Jordan Reed is right around the corner, ready to bust out a 30-point performance for you. Team DK Metcalf was ranked in 4th. They're down to 6th now. Boston Beans started the season ranked 5th. They're projected down to 8. And then we get Sody Pantloads projected at 6. They've risen up to 4. They're not going to be happy with 4. We'll see what happens this week. They've got a very important game standings-wise this week. No Lineup Needed was projected as 7. They are projected, or they started at 7. They're projected to be 2nd now. Watson has them coming in the runner-up spot.
Ay, caramba.
Right? Worst team ever. Started projected at 8, and I liked your draft better now, I'm going to tell you that. But they've got you in the 3rd spot. Maybe Watson sees some tragedy ahead for you this week. Springfield Rifle was projected to start in 9th, and they've dropped to 10th. Hoping for a miracle finish from them. And the best story of the season so far, Huey Lewis in the News after the draft was projected by Watson to finish in 10th place, and they have Huey Lewis in the News right now finishing as this year's BARFF champion. Well, what do you think about Watson's thinking?
Well, you know how I feel about Watson on my team. And then, of course, you said No Lineup Needed was 2nd?
No Lineup Needed is now projected to finish 2nd after starting the season in the 7th spot.
I think I'll come on here butt-ass naked if No Lineup Needed comes in at 2nd place. I don't see how that's even remotely possible when you have all these other teams. Worst team ever, Pantloads, Huey Lewis in the News. Yeah. I mean, maybe Watson's looking at the schedule and is doing some kind of analytics saying, well, this one's going to knock this one off and that kind of thing. So, you know, maybe, but with that lineup, and let's face it, Christian's been a little under fire today about decision making. So, yeah, I don't see that. But I will say this, Christian, your team's better than I thought it would be. Oh, yeah. And I do see you making the playoffs. Maybe at my expense, unfortunately. Yeah. Potentially.
Christian will come on. We'll have him on soon enough, and he's going to tell me that he had Wentz in there because they were playing the Cowboys. And I'm just going to say again, don't get cute. Tyler, what do you think about IBM Watson?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if I agree with that, dropping me down to, 3rd place on that. That's whatever. But the other one, Huey Lewis, I mean, I see why they can see them rising up to the top. They got past Sody Pantloads, in a critical game there in the head-to-head matchup. I don't want to look too far ahead, but they do have me next week when I have some critical players on some bye weeks. So Watson could be looking at that when determining it. But the No Lineup Needed and jumping all the way up to the 2 spot. I mean, hey, they have a lot of firepower. When you got Derrick Henry and Devontae Adams, who's an absolute stud. I mean, I could potentially see why that would happen, but in the end, I don't see that coming through.
Yeah, they went through that tough spell, and now they are putting up points. So this is the time of year when you want to be playing well. We'll see. So as we spoke about earlier, we're going to have a lot more clarity at the top and at the bottom after this week.
Oh, yeah. But, again, coming back to them, they only had 1,000 points for, and I know they've come on the last 2 weeks, but you can't just forget about what happened in the beginning of the season either. Now, and I know Devontae Adams was hurt for that, but still, when you have that low point total and that being a tiebreaker, that could come back to haunt Christian.
Yeah. I'll have to say I'm a big believer in looking at numbers and trying to crunch a little bit, but after what's happened with me this season, I think that points for and points against can both fuck off. I'm not interested in either because I regained my spot at the top of both of those, and even with Tommy going 60 this week, I'm still the leader in points against, and not liking it at all. And that is our show for tonight. Tyler, it was great having you in studio.
It was. And you don't mind, could I ask your co-host here a couple quick questions?
You know what? Walt, I'm sorry. This is not the end of the show. We had Tyler go through 2 rounds of 3 and Out with Walt. And so he has requested and has been granted permission to make some inquiries of you, sir.
Okay.
And Tyler, it's all yours.
Appreciate the time. So, well, you've put a couple owners on the spot here, asking about their relevance, when you're looking at the historical data, right?
Yeah.
So you look at Born to Run, haven't won a championship since 2009 and 2010 season. Now, that's before most of these league members' teams' nuts have dropped. So I got to ask you, what are you going to do to, pull through here at the end? Should teams be threatened by Born to Run?
Okay, well, first of all, we're not sure Kyle has. So he might still have one hanging up. So let's not discount that. But I think, sure, you might say I haven't won since then, but let's look at last year's team, right? We said no moral victory, but I'm going to use that and say, well, that team was pretty damn good. And in my mind, it should have had that golden toilet seat on my mantle. So that to me says, look at that. Last year, I'm definitely still relevant. I think this year's team, unfortunately, with some of the injuries, I'm not as confident. But I do think when push comes to shove, I'm going to be right there in the mix. And my thing is make the playoffs. And then from that point, anything can happen. Last year, really proves that out when the Pantloads beat me. Somehow, I still don't know how. But
so that's actually a perfect segue to my next question.
All right.
You go 12-1 and you fail to make the championship. So, my question is plain and simple. You're getting old. Can you still finish?
Well, I like to. We're talking in fantasy football.
We
right?
are.
We
Yes.
are not talking outside
No,
of that.
we are not.
Okay, because there, my track record speaks for itself. So I feel very confident about that. No, I don't know. Right? Yeah, you say that. Can you finish? Right? And when you get to the playoffs, you can only do what you can do, and you don't really. Your destiny is what the fantasy gods decide. When it comes to you got a guy get hurt, you have scheduled matchups, so there's only so much you can do. And I do think when it's all said and done, I think I'm there. I'm pretty sure that I can finish given the right circumstances. But maybe, like I said, this year I'm not as confident, but I think I can get it done.
Makes sense. All right. And the last question here, we've all heard the rumors, that there's a lack of a father figure in Born to Run's early developmental stages here. So I have some good news or bad news, depending how you look at it. And it is, I think I have found your daddy, and it is Sody Pantloads.
Oh.
So what I want to know is, what is going to be different here going forward? He's already beat you once this season, and he knocked you out of the playoffs last year. What's going to happen now?
Okay, I think after that loss, I made a statement and said it ended there. And I'm sticking with that. So come talk to me after the next game. It's time for her to turn it around. I'm coming back, baby. I'm not worried about the Pantloads. Their luck's going to run out. It's midnight for Cinderella, and it's over. And I'm coming for the Pantloads. And like I said, it ends now.
If ever there was a statement to end the show on, that is the statement. Well done, Tyler, and it was great again to have you in the studio
Thanks for having
tonight.
me.
Absolutely. That is our show for the night. Well, great show.
Great show.
Great to
Thanks,
have you
Brian.
in here tonight. Thanks to everyone for watching. Good luck to all. Take care.
Good job.